Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. This is World News. And boy, I got a big show for you tonight. A lot of info. Lots and lots of info. The choice. The choice. We looked at what we see at the White House for Pride Day. Why'd they take all their clothes off? A choice. And reparations. It is a choice. Um, so many have been uh, subjected to parents, grandparents, great grandparents, and they stay in these cities that um, will make them poor. It's a choice. It's a choice. What about the woke? Well, they have a choice. They have a choice to put out the LGBTQ, whatever, but did they have to expose themselves to prove a point? What point? There was none. It was a choice that they made. What about the trannies in libraries? It's a choice. It's not only a choice by the trannies, it's a choice by the parents, it's a choice by the libraries. When we look at the crime rate in this country, it's a choice of the criminal to rob, burn, loot, or whatever they're going to do. It's a choice. And it's not a racist thing, it's a choice thing. When, like, let's say Chicago, it's the choice of the gangs to go after another gang, to shoot whoever they can shoot. It's a choice they make. It's a choice. And I'm starting to see it fall into even politics in the states. It's the choices that they make. It's not the choice of the people that are voting. It's the choice of um, the politician to put forth their idea of what they think that is best for the people in their county, their city, their states. And it's the choice of the people to vote them in. It's something to think about, though. Something really to think about. Vladimir Putin dropped a bombshell. And, he didn't have to. He was holding up a few documents. And NATO is fighting for peace. Are they really? All it took was him holding up a few documents. Well, these documents seem to show that Ukraine agreed to a peace deal over a year ago. Um, Folks, do you remember, Karen? I hope you remember this. Remember, I said Turkey went over and worked a peace deal? I said it over a year ago. And so what happened? Well, Boris Johnson happened. Boris Johnson went to Ukraine and he was going to thwart peace talks that now seems to have born out of the time. It was called a conspiracy. Was it really? Boris Boris basically out of the time he was called a conspiracy theory. No, there was just a show of support for Ukraine. No matter no matter what it was going to prove, the timeline seems to support. So let's go over there. And Vladimir Putin said he was going to show us a copy of the peace agreement that was signed by Ukraine last year when peace talks were hosted in Turkey. It was called the Treaty of um, Permanent Neutrality and Security Guarantees of Ukraine. These talks, held in Turkey in March of 2022, happened to them uh, and Boris Johnson jumped in and in a plane, and a few days after, the Ukraine media reported he talked Zelensky out of the United States, and the officials will quickly follow suit. This visit, we would see Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi showed up. She was licking her lips and talking ice cream. And she was in the streets of Kiev. Anthony Blinken, Lloyd Austin, Europe's Ursula von der Leyen showed up not quite long after that. They renegade their side of the bargain, according to President Putin. Here is a translation of the Putin showing the document to a group of African leaders, then watched as their faces, they see the lies. They see the lies that they have been told by not only the United States, but NATO and Ukraine. I'm going to have to pull some of this down so you guys can see this.
Этот проект этого договора был парафирован руководителем переговорной группы из Киева. Он поставил там свою подпись. Вот он. Он есть. Он так и называется. Договор о постоянном нейтралитете и гарантиях безопасности Украины. Именно о гарантиях, о которых вы сказали, уважаемый друг президент Южноафриканской Республики. 18 статей. Более того, к нему есть еще и приложение. Они, знаете, сейчас даже не буду об этом говорить. Они касаются и вооруженных сил, касаются других вещей. Все прописано до единиц боевой техники и до личного состава вооруженных сил. Вот этот документ. Он парафирован киевской делегацией. Подпись стоит. Но после того, как мы, как и обещали, отвели войска от Киева, киевские власти, как обычно делают их хозяева, выбросили это все на свалку истории. Скажем так, аккуратно и постараюсь интеллигентно выражаться. Они отказались от этого. Где гарантии, что они и дальше не будут отказываться от каких-то других договоренностей? Обращаю на это.
I hope you listened to that, folks. What did Ukraine do? They reneged on their side of the bargain. According to President Putin, the translated video showing this document to a group of African leaders and watched as they sorted through consternation on their faces as they see this. Some were frowning, some were they didn't know how to believe that this actually happened. That Turkey did get both sides to sign. We did not agree with Ukraine's side, and this deal would be confidential, but we also disclosed and it committed to the draft of this agreement. It initially representative of the head of negotiating group from Kyiv. He put his signature out there, he said. It's called the Treaty on Permanent Neutrality. The guarantees for the security of Ukraine. It contains 18 articles. There's also an appendix and provisions concerned the arm of its provisions. It's concerned the armed forces and many other things around it is written down there to units of military equipment, personnel, armed forces. Here it is in the document, he said. He initially, but after, withdrew troops from Kyiv and promised that the Kyiv of authorities would as their patrons usually do, they basically abandoned all the agreements that they had made with Russia. Is it crazy? Did you see one of the African leaders basically with his mouth open, some with their mouth shut and frowning? They knew that Russia removed their armies from Kiev on the agreement. And then Kiev said, oh, we won Kiev. Moscow focuses more on eastern Ukraine. And to date, when you look at the maps, folks, the only thing he's taken is those regions that he said he was going to take originally in the original Minsk agreement and this agreement with Turkey. They withdrew the troops from Kiev after this treaty because it was part of their bargain for the treaty outline and neutrality. And Ukraine maximized allowance for military personnel and equipment and listed Russia and US, Britain, China, France as guarantors that now when one side renegade on their peace agreement. And it throws us how many lives lost since then? This was the first year. Remember, they started in February, March. That's when Turkey went and said they had worked out an agreement. Now the agreement doesn't stand. Russia did what was promised. They pulled out of Kiev. They pulled out of one of the ports and left. They took one port. They took Crimea, like they said, and they were only concentrating on the regions. For one Russian out of 10 Ukrainians are dying in this war. They're just not winning. The media has lied. The economy has gone so bad that I've even pointed out that Poland will even step in and take care of Ukraine. Poland, Germany, really. That's where the Bazov Italian comes from. They're neo-Nazis. Vladimir Putin thinks this is ridiculous, and he has put points of action that they need to back off, let him take these few regions that now are all the Russians are in. And the Russians are saying, we don't want to be a part of Ukraine. There's even Ukrainians in the Russian territories saying, we don't want to make the choice of, the thing is if you're in Ukraine, you choose Western values, but also you're no longer associated with anybody or anything in Russia. Well, they have family members. They have businesses. There's lots that's connected to Russia. So they can't just walk away. And they're saying that actually Russia treats them better than Ukraine. And I don't want to get too deep into this because I don't want to get a strike on this. But now Putin has shown the documents. And he said, this is what they did. This is what they did to me. He tried to show them to the UN. They rejected it. He tried to show it to NATO. They rejected it. And even Turkey has said that they did sign an agreement for a ceasefire in March. So the war started in February. In March, they had a ceasefire. They tried again in 1 year, and Turkey did it again. But then Boris Johnson and Pelosi and Bill Gates, everybody started flooding over to Ukraine to talk to Zelensky, to tell him, no, don't do this. Why? Was it for the pipeline? Well, the pipeline got blown up, and who'd they say? It was, they said it was Putin. Putin said no, it was the United States, NATO, and Ukraine. Now, we still don't know. We still don't know. And so, tomorrow night, boy, me and William's going to have a show because, it's just not Ukraine. Because then we got Blinken going over to finalize plans with China. Now they do plan to put to put in troops 100 miles from U.S. mainland a day after the meeting with Biden. Who's that? Is it us? It's China. They have 7 police precincts across the United States now that are run by China. We let it happen. Everybody thought that finalizing plans to put troops 100 miles from U.S. mainland, we would have thought that would it be China? No, that's not what's happening. It's reversed. One day after Blinken wrapped up talks with Chinese officials in Beijing, a new report: China is planning to base troops in Cuba. He's putting more in there now. He was only putting a certain amount. Now he's putting more. The report based on is if current and former U.S. officials were not named. Basically, U.S. intelligence documents indicated the deal is in its final stages. What did Blinken do? I'm looking at him and saying, what did you just do? Did you just sell us out? What did we hear? Now, William did a show yesterday. It was kind of comical. But now when we look at this, folks, we have to really look at this very serious. And what they said is we will support Taiwan. We will give them the means to fight China. I thought we were their allies. And Japan, the Philippines, and many over there are looking, saying, we thought the United States had our back. What happened? Now they feel lost. Now they want to pull out of the war. A good possibility they will. Who's going to go up against China and millions of billions and trillions of dollars of they have way more than the United States. Who's going to win the war now? So what was Blinken over there for? They did a lot of high-level talks, but no military-to-million communications. They didn't want to talk about the war. The only thing they were talking about was what? Was it the Biden or this administration that has got businesses and insider trading going on? The millions and billions they've made off of China itself? Anthony Blinken traveled to China over the weekend with the aim of improving relations between the two countries, following tensions and a series of dust ups, they say. While Beijing has refused U.S. the talks of defense summit, Japan's Hamada, it's expected to attend the meeting with Chinese Minister of National Defense in an effort to enhance communications and prevent violent region. So is Japan caving to all of this? How many countries over there are now looking at China saying, "Whoa, the United States isn't there"? Did we just show another weakness? We just showed weakness in Ukraine of what's going on. We're now showing you weakness with China that it should be very scary. Now, are they going to bomb the United States? No. They need the United States not only because of workers that they could force work, but all of everything that they have put in place, they can just slip in and control the country. Is Jinping really going to meet with Biden? You know, he met with Anthony Blinken. It would be expected that Joe Biden would meet with him next to tell him to back off, show the strength of the United States. But what we're seeing is a huge weakness, folks. And this is very scary. They told U.S. Secretary and State Anthony Blinken the terms and conditions during his final days of a 48-hour trip to um, communist country. Their part. Neither Washington or Beijing has confirmed the meeting between Blinken and Jinping, China's most powerful leader, um, who's meeting with the president, Joe Biden, in Bali last year, raised concerns and cautioned hopes for the thaw of the relationship. The Secretary of State trip to Beijing at the same time uh, said there was critical conjuncture in China-U.S. relationship. Wang told um, Blinken, according to the readout, the Chinese state broker, it's necessary to make the choice between dialogue, confrontation, cooperation, or conflict. And you're not doing this. And what about the spy balloon, folks? The spy balloon stopped over Montana and took serious pictures of our nuclear bases. And Biden says, it wasn't that big of a thing. It wasn't really intentional. It just wasn't that big of a thing. But they did shoot it down after it got off the coast of the United States, the East Coast. It wasn't really intentional, Biden says. More than a dozen Republican senators wrote to the President Biden complaining about this balloon and the public account on this. Um, Basically, his um, the need to know for uh, the public so they know what this tic tac thing is. Both 2 or 3 videos that they should be releasing it. While 4 months have passed since the Chinese surveillance balloon was allowed to fly over the United States, they never shot it down. And they came out as if when it was over Montana and started to move and said, nothing to see here. It's a weather balloon. Well, by the time it got to North Carolina, it was a war balloon by China. And so, what did they get? And how much on TikTok, Snapchat, even Facebook, that we're looking at, we're being hacked for them to get our voice recognition, but also what we're interested in so they can eventually take us down. Um, Even Blinken came out and he said a newly classified report confirms U.S. agencies are buying American personal data. He said it. If one thing that Blinken could say that really should everybody stand up and say, whoa, wait a minute. Newly classified report confirms U.S. agencies buying American personal data. And this is what he said. The report, compiled by a panel of advising director of national intelligence. Now, you got to look at national intelligence before the Republicans took over. So whoever was on there, this is what they did. It was completed back in January 22, but was classified before the above date. It had been in making for many years. The report details U.S. agencies have been buying massive databases on Americas through not only TikTok, but other platforms like Snapchat. So be careful. I mean, think about what you're using and your kids are using. Now, before they were saying 5G didn't do this. Now they're saying 5G does. So we're lied to before. Now we're still being lied to. And then we have Durham. Now he finished up his. Didn't it seem kind of light? I thought he was going to slam them all. Did they get to him? In a 306-page report issued May 15th, after years-long investigation, he basically said the objective facts show that the FBI handlings of important aspects and of the Crossfire Hurricane matter were seriously um, deficient. And based on the review of the Crossfire Hurricane, they were more serious about uh, uh, intelligence and activities. So we can conclude that the Justice Department and the FBI failed to uphold their important missions of strictly fidelity to live in the law, connection with certain events, activities, and description of this report. And so, what does that mean? Um, what happened to San Francisco? Everybody moved out. Everybody's gone. Even, I mean, they just can't do it anymore. So they move out. So who moves in? And when we look at through the blue states, we're seeing so many moving out, and the crime and the homeless getting worse. And they have no plan. It's the plan, not the man. And Durham needs to show all of the documents, not just part. Don't sugarcoat this no more. We need hard truth. And I think the American people can stand it. I think they said if we only knew what's been going on, we'd faint, all of us. I don't think so. I think they're imagining we would do that, but I don't think we would really do that. All right, we're going to move on. Um, Well, I'm going to go to Israel because Israel backed Ring of Fire. And this really concerns me because Iran has backed the Shia militants in Iraq, Syria, Iran um, to totally surround like a ring of fire against Israel. Now, they have fired upon Gaza in the last few days, and only it's because that's where they're hearing where the missiles are. The thing about it is now we are looking at Israel watching Iran as he makes deals with not only Saudi but other countries. because now we're fighting. Israel is fighting Hamas, Hezbollah, Israel fighters, the Taliban, ISIS, Houthi, the ones out of Yemen. They're surrounded at this point. And this is what they're saying, is that they might end up going to war as soon as China goes to war on Taiwan. Well, we have World War III. It really doesn't make any sense. It really don't. That everything we should be putting into Israel they're one of our allies. We're now backing out and backing terrorists. And Netanyahu has looked at this saying, we have Saudi making agreements with Iran. We have Iran making efforts with those in other countries. It's okay that they fire a weapon at Israel. That they have to have Israel and Gaza as a whole. This is very disturbing. So, boy, I got some planes, huh? Um, China sends premier to Germany. So we now have an ambassador that's going over to Germany with China to talk to them. Why? Why isn't the media getting mad over this? So China is now, they met with Iran, they've met with Saudi, now they're going to meet with Germany, now they did with Blinken. They've met with Canada. What is this? What the World Economic Forum said, that China would be the president of the world? Is this what is being set in the stage for? Now, this was written a long time ago, over a year ago. I'm hoping Karen remembers this. Karen's been with me a long time, so she is going to remember a lot of this, that we went through the first year of war with Ukraine, where we see World Economic Forum came forward, and we started seeing the G20 start changing, that no fossil fuels, no coal, no, and Jinping was behind it. He was all for it, but look he's the worst offender of pollution of coal and gas and crude oil, everything. That his is so polluted you can't even see on certain days. But he's doing it, but he's not allowing other worlds or other countries to be able to do the same thing. And just when we thought it was safe to be a politician in Kansas, all of the Congress and Senate and representatives received a white powder in the mail. Anthrax, probably. Why? What is it about Kansas now that the Democrat Party is afraid of? Is it they have switched their votes, or is there up and coming too many Congress, too many senators? It was a suspicious white powder, they said. And it was sent to Kansas legislature, but it was sent to a few Congress and Senate. Primary test in the lab, basically the substance is presumptively negative for common biological agents of concern. So they didn't really find anything, but how do we know 40 years down the road these representatives could have cancer. And are they going to remember to blame it on this white powder? Most time it's Xanax, not Xanax. Um, Other poisons. There is there is so much that they could put in there in a white powder. They could do cocaine, and it would have them freaky for a day. We don't know, and until the we can get the DOJ, the State Department, and the FBI, CIA to actually be truthful, we'll never know what was sent to these representatives. Because I look to see, hey, has it been resolved? There's nothing out there in the news. Nothing. This next story, folks, this one is so disturbing because we all have smart stuff in our house. With the government and the FBI and CIA and even China now looking into what they can take from our economy and who they can control. Well, we know that they are big on the TVs and smart features. Well, China claims now that if they want, they could shut down all your smart stuff in your house. I'm like, and not only no, but hell no. They're going to shut off my fridge, my stove. I already been through that. I wasn't good with smart stuff. To have everything shut down that's smart, that's your TV, your phone, your appliances, your car, everything that is smart or anything that's connected to them could be shut down. And you'll be able to not be able to do anything until they hook you back up. And will you know that the government is doing this to you? They'll freeze your bank accounts. And this is a program that China's looking into that the United States wants to get a hold of. So why would we let China do this? Why, I accidentally called William today, but William would have been great for the show today, but we got him tomorrow because this might be a war strategic move of China. What about we're in a new age of war? This isn't what we did in World War One, World War Two, or even Vietnam. This is a technology type of war, and it's so much easier because you could shut the electric grid down if you want, and make it uncomfortable for whether China does it or we do it to them, or whether Russia does it to Ukraine or Ukraine does it to Russia or Iran or Israel. Who knows? Or how about just rogue ISIS do it to all of us? We just don't know because we don't have a handle and there's no rules and regulations on what is being done with the smart and the controls for it with 5G. This is something I don't care much for William Barr, folks, but William Barr did warn us of this with 5G, that there's capabilities of hacking that China could get a hold of and shut down smart systems. And I believe this is what they got a hold of. And because they were the ones that presented it, they're the ones that wrote the program, they're the ones that put this into place. And we have let's not blame Joe Biden, folks. Okay, I'm starting to feel sorry for the poor guy. There has got to be someone behind him that's writing the scripts, writing the cards, writing. There's got to be someone behind this that is running this country. that's not Joe Biden. This is going to be the first time ever in history we had a president that was run by his advisors. Are they going to ever tell us who the advisors are? No, they don't want us to know, because I think it would scare the hell out of every one of you. This is not, and it makes sense that Trump, in his last few days, put in that the military, if they feel this country has went rogue, that the military can step in and stop this. And I think that's what they're doing with China, because the Navy is big. The Navy is getting big, it's getting stronger, and they're saying, we're not going to let anything happen to Taiwan. We're not hearing that from this administration, and we should be. They're more worried about the LGBTQ whatever. And what did they do to them? They trashed them on Pride Day on the White House. I mean, who wanted to look at a bunch of naked people? Is that what they stand for? Is burying all in front of us, or tranny libraries? Is that what they're all about? I thought this was a different thing. I thought it was they were just proud of who they are. Well, be proud of who you are, but don't go to the White House and bare your chest. Well, a lot of people don't want to see that. 80, 90% of this country didn't want to see that, and they find it very offensive. I'm not really on a rant tonight, folks, as much as I'm just bringing you the absolute truth of what's going on. And think about it. Iran has Israel surrounded. Now what? Well, they got supersonic missiles. They have got the Iron Dome. But when you're looking at the Iran saying it's the Ring of Fire, and we're just waiting for that day, this should scare everyone, because Biden is looking, well, poor Palestinians. It isn't about the Palestinians. This is about Iran. And then they have even signed more agreements with Iran that they can build and do whatever they want. And we're still sending them pallets of money to do it. Why are we sending pallets of money to Iran? Why are we sending millions of billions to Ukraine? And then Taiwan is left out in the cold? What is it about Taiwan that this administration is scared of? It's called China. It's called China. They're afraid of China for some reason. Why? And it's only this, I'm going to say it's Joe Biden and his family, because what they've done. And China's saying, dance, and they dance. They say stop dancing, they stop dancing. They say, go hide, they go hide. China is to the point where, you want to start to believe that the World Economic Forum is right, that maybe China will be in control. Do we want China in control? Do we want China even attacked Alaska? Why? I mean, I thought Russia wanted Alaska. Well, come to find out, they've even attacked Alaska at a certain point. They've got 7 police stations here in the United States now. 7. And we haven't done nothing about it. We're letting it go. And they're charging people, and they're charging them and under communist rule. Is that a re-education camp, or is that what, death? 7 of them. This is something that we need to wake up to and decide what we're going to do. If we don't get our DOJ, our State Department, the FBI, CIA, all of them, if we don't, NSI especially, NSA, if we don't get these guys under control, we're just handing this country to China and Russia. And, I've even heard people say, well, maybe they're a better choice than what we have. No, No, you don't want China in rule. No, you don't want Russia in rule. What happened to uh, the home of the brave? What happened to our flag meant something. That we left the um, we left England because of taxation. Now we're all for taxation. What happened in the last 40 years? Uh, is the world the same now than it was 20 years ago? I don't think so. I think this has gone crazy. This is a crazy world. My own sister says she don't even want no part of it no more. The flag doesn't even stand for the flag. Yes, it does to some of us, or the patriots of this country. And it's only going to take one good president. It doesn't have to be Trump, folks. Don't be stuck on Trump. Be stuck on who is going to be best to run this country. I don't know who it's going to end up being, but we have to put conservatives back in power to be able to make. And they're gonna whine. They're gonna accuse us of all kinds of horrible things. But if we don't push this forward uh, for our kids, who knows? 800 years from now, our kids could be complaining that they were slaves, and uh, the migrants were human trafficked as slaves, and we have to pay them for it. We got reparations, but what about these kids that are being brought in and enslaved? What about the kids being enslaved in Africa? Is it going to be a world thing? If they want to make a one world order, then everybody that's been treated badly is going to stand up in the next 20, 30, 40, 800 years. And the racism, oh my gosh, it went so horrible. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word. But they have wore it out so much, it doesn't mean anything. And African Americans ought to be angry at this, but they're not. Why? We just got through having Martin Luther King Day, and they were treated badly. They were treated badly in the South. If the Northerners and all the way out to the West in California would have listened to what was going on in the South, and it was all done by Democrats. D'Souza and Carol Swan would tell you this. And when we finally took them down, they went up north to make it so cops were so horrible. And now look what we got. And even San Francisco, 3 more stores. You realize there's maybe 2 to 3 left for Fisherman's Wharf. It's gone. San Francisco's gone. It was beautiful. I mean, I remember growing up there as a kid. It was beautiful. What about Denver? What about all the places that were absolutely beautiful to go to? And now it's what? Graffiti, boards, empty buildings, crime. Has America sunk to the lowest? Or are we sunk to the lowest and now we have to work to the highest? Make this country great again. No, 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 no. Let's just throw that out the window because Biden's using it. Everybody's using that whole phrase, even in other countries. Let's build back better. Let's make our country great again. No, no, no. How about we need to start with humanity and put the cops back on the streets to get these criminals back in. And like I even said on the Justice for All, look at the um, defense attorneys that are so overwhelmed they can't even do cases. It's time to start pushing through. And this isn't communism. This is just, what's right and what's wrong. And what's wrong needs to be punished. It's not about it's not about racism. It's not about color. It's not about it's a choice that people make. If you want to go rob a bank, what color are you? Well, red, pink, purple, blue, whatever, green, who cares? All of them rob banks. Is that racist to say that? I mean, is it a gender thing? And the school shootings, remember, it used to be about just young white guys. Well, now it's transgender things. Now they're bringing in other factors. If it's a white guy, they're going to show it. If it's a African American, they're not going to show it. If it's a transgender, they're going to blow it up and they're going to put Satan stuff in Target. Really? Is this biblical? I have to look biblical, but I don't want to get real religious on my shows and my news shows. But isn't it written? When gluttony and greed and wanting the power and wanting all the money and it's a power, folks. It's a power thing. As long as they have the power, they can rule what we're supposed to buy. And I eat out a lot. The hamburgers aren't right. Do we know what they're putting in the hamburgers and the French fries and this fast food? Do we really know the ingredients? Is McDonald's giving you the ingredients to their products? What's in it? Are they switching us over to bugs and we don't realize it? Karen knows, Susan knows, Linda knows. They have been trying to get us to eat bugs. Now, all of a sudden, everything's tasting a little bit different. Even the stuff that you nuke, those ready things you stick in your oven, you eat them. Something's not right. I don't think it's the preservatives. And I'm starting to wonder what are they putting in there. And all they say is flavorings. I want to know what flavorings are. It's the same thing when you, and I had a lady that wrote me, and I hope she's watching tonight. When we go and have our kids, they got to go through the shots. It's just a baby thing, They say you got to have all these things that's to be done until they're like 15 years old. And so you take them in and they do the 1 month, the 3 month, the 6 month, the year. And okay, but what's in it? I asked a nurse, I said, wait a minute, you just gave her, something that a baby has to have. Can I see the package? Oh, we throw them out. Well, isn't it easy? Go get it out of the garbage. I'd like to know what's in these things that you're doing to these kids. And they're just listed as additives. What are the additives? Same with the food. What's the flavorings? What's the additives? What is going on with our government that they're pushing the one world order, the World Health Organization, to the CDC, to our politicians that are willing to hurt people? It makes no sense. Karen, I hope you're liking this show. This is a good show tonight. This is a really good show. And and then we find out Putin and Turkey and Zelensky signed an agreement 2 months after the war, and it could have been done. How many Ukrainians lost their lives now? And they could have stopped. They could have stopped. Who made that choice? Was it us? Was it the Biden administration? Was it NATO? Was it Europe? Was it Germany? Who decided? Now, we know Boris Johnson went over there and he said, oh, no, stop everything. And of course, Pelosi went over and did the same thing. How many times have I seen Pelosi or Schumer or even Senator Durham run over to Ukraine in 2016, 15, 16, to do what about the war? The UK was all ready to come down and squash Russian rebels. That's all they were. They were people that wanted to be Russians. That Ukraine said, nope, not allowed. You got to be us or else. And if you're not going to be us, then we're going to go after you. And of course, Putin's not going to let that happen. This is all history. That was 2015-16. And so we sent Graham and Durham and Pelosi and everybody, and of course, Biden and Hunter and all of them over here to do what? Look for resources, look for gas, get into banking. How did that help Ukraine? How'd that even help Ukraine? It didn't. Same way with Taiwan. What have we sent to Taiwan? We've sent boats and fleets, and we've sent army, we've sent tanks, we've sent. Is it enough to fight the number one superpower in the world? I don't even think our allies are. Japan's looking at us like, why? Philippines is saying, why? Even Australia, UK is looking at us saying, I thought we were going to, defend Taiwan. Now you don't want to? Why? Well, and then, even Sky News threw it out there over the last few days that said, maybe it's true. Maybe they have bought up Ukraine. And this is just so that Biden has somewhere to go and his family has a country they own. How powerful is that if you own a country? Are we winning? Yes. Yes. I want you all to have faith. I want you guys to believe that this is the worst of the worst times, and it's been written that we will endure it, and we're the strongest of the strongest. Don't let it depress you. You look at yourself as you were chosen to be the warrior, the fire fist. That's why I use the fire fist, because I know we're warriors and I know we're going to be the best and we're going to beat these guys. 80% of this country doesn't like where it's going. In 2024, we're only a year away. It's not that far. Everybody thought it was going to take forever. Well, look, we're not that far. You tell everybody you could possibly tell that it's not about politics. I don't care if you're Republican or you're Democrat. What do you want for your country? Do you want your flag? Do you want your freedoms? Do you want low prices? Do you want low taxes? Do you want to be able to make it month to month? Or do you want to be on welfare? And it's a choice. I started this with the choice, and I'm ending the show with a choice. It's a choice that people make. And it's our choice that we stand up and say, we want freedom, we want liberty, and we're in the pursuit of happiness. Thanks for watching, folks. Subscribe, hit that like button, hit the share. The great show tonight to show that Putin has got the documents that said there was a peace agreement. We know that China has basically snubbed Blinken. We know that our administration has let Iran surround Israel. It's time for us to say no. And the only way we're going to do no is on a vote. And I hate to do the whole vote thing and publicize it, but that's what it's going to end up being, is our vote. So subscribe, hit the like button, share, tell that person at the bank about us, hit the follow, and ring my bell. And we will see you all tomorrow with the World War III report with me and William, and also weather and lifestyle news. Thank you all for watching, and God bless.